relieved to say no one from the prosecutor's office or police department is even calling us, so that's a good thing. Yeah, it's really sad, but yeah.
Thanks for telling me I'm going to camp on Wednesday.
The weekend, I heard they said
Your microphone should be live.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're back in session, please. Section 4 is the approval of the agenda and agenda items. Is there a motion to approve the agenda and any agenda items? Is there a second? No? There's not seconds?
No,
Is there any discussion?
I would like for two things. One thing under superintendent's recommendation, not for anything other than the fact that it has to do with the meeting, I would like to pull off item A on its own to vote on. And then the second thing.
Why is that changed?
Because my name's in there to be voted on. Yes.
Oh, okay.
And I don't want to abstain on the whole entire process. The second thing is, under personnel committee down in standing committee, are we going to have discussion on pleasure at all somewhere in here, or can that be added? Can it be added?
Dan, can we put that back there?
Yes.
Dr. Phelps? Yes. Mr. Kilroy?
Yes.
Mr. Bilkowski?
Yes.
Mr. Dorsey?
Yes.
The next section of discussion, board member communication with the media. I think I just want to, once again, remind board members, if we're talking to the media, please, as clearly as possible, state that it's your own opinion, whatever the subject matter is, and please, it's very important to be as accurate as possible. I realize that mistakes happen, honest mistakes happen, misquotes happen, but we want to make sure that we're getting information out that is as accurate as possible. This is not about theatrics. And I think it doesn't serve the public well to make aspersions into what could happen. For example, we have enough residential children based upon our class sizes that we can't squish two schools together. There is no closing of an elementary school. This is not going to happen. Sorry, there is no closing of an elementary school. We have too many residential children. So let's be more cognizant of what we're doing. There is a board policy. It's 0123, I believe it's section FF, that says that the board will strive to uphold the highest standards for the school district and shall lead the school district by example of those standards. The board shall immediately correct mistakes, practice complete transparency and service to the community, not allow misleading information to be released to the community, and expect the same from all within its administration. I think that just time to kind of bring that up again, remind everybody that we do have something that addresses it, and pay attention to it, please. Anybody else have any comments? Okay. Which brings us to item number 6, remarks of the public. Please note all persons wishing to address the board have a 5-minute invitation. Please state your name, address, and topic. I look out in this direction. I also wear trifocals. Please stay out there, raise your hand. I think we had some people lining up on the side, and I missed some people last time. I apologize. I will do my best. Now, in the meantime, let me get my clock here so I can try this now. Yeah, right there, right there.
Good evening. My name is Megan Petronsky, 12145 West Shiloh in Chesterland. I have several questions for you, and I was hoping maybe if you were going to respond, it could be at the end. Several weeks ago, I asked each of you to reflect on your very important job as West Geauga School Board members. I posed the question, will you see staff and administration for the professionals that they are and use their feedback and experience to help you make informed decisions? By your recent actions, I am concerned that the answer might be no. The reason I am concerned is that I'm aware that Mr. Palmer worked diligently with the administrative team to determine the best cap for each grade level. And these numbers did include reductions in the caps at most grade levels. I am aware that he sent this information to you ahead of time so that you could be prepared to discuss it at the meeting. At the meeting, Ms. DeTore presented a completely different proposal. I believe that it was shared very late in the day at the last board meeting. It seemed that over a very short period of time, you discussed her proposal and made a decision to adopt it. I asked you, do you plan to be impulsive or research decision makers? Again, by your recent actions, I am concerned that the answer is impulsive. It stems from the fact that Ms. DeTore presented her proposal, you discussed her numbers, and in quite a few, less than about 10 minutes of even seeing them, adopted them. Why not take the time to thoroughly review each proposal, look at the impact Each would wait to see what the survey results yield, and then make a decision. I inquired, when you make the many important decisions you have to make, for whom are you making them? By setting the numbers as you did, approximately 37 current open enrollment students will most likely be told that they are no longer wanted next year. We currently have the staff and the means to educate these children. I'm concerned about why you are choosing to turn them away. Again, why not wait to see what the survey said? I fear that the vocal opposition in our community may have influenced you to make impulsive decisions. I raised the question, will you communicate with and listen to members of this community and work hard to do what is best for them most? Our treasurer pointed out at the end of the last meeting that based on the limits that were set, WestGBrd would lose around $800,000 over the course of the next 5 years. Does this put our district in the position that we must pass the next 2 renewal levies and in addition pass about a $6 million levy in 2017 to just stay in the black? In a community that has a history of not passing school levies, if these predictions are accurate, I am not sure if that's what is best for the most. On the other end of the spectrum, however, the process you use to make the decision about all-day kindergarten is one that utilized the feedback of the superintendent, administration, the community, and it was research-based. It was not impulsive, it was informed, and it was made with thoughtfulness and regard for what is best for the most, and for that I thank you. Moving forward, I would hope you would consider these questions once again. I believe you have a copy on file of my original set of posed questions, and proceed in a more collaborative, informed, and thoughtful manner when making decisions for our students and community. Thank you.
Someone back there?
Hi, my name is Bob Bauer. I live at 1262 Chillicothe. I'd like to address some statements that were just made. First of all day kindergarten, all the research on it, and I have a son that's going to be going this fall to kindergarten, so I did extensive research into it. There is no educational advantage to all-day kindergarten after 3 years. It all disappears. What they did is if you have a child in kindergarten and you put information in and test them right then, it's fine. The next year, not so much. After 3 years, all the research says that there's no difference between a half-day and all-day kindergarten. The only difference is the school board will be providing daycare for these children. And I know that that's not the point of the school district, to provide daycare. And that's exactly what it does. You can look anywhere. Like I said, I have a son going, so I did a lot of research. So the all-day kindergarten, that absolutely not that was something that was done. I have no idea how they did that, but there's no education for that. The second thing is open enrollment. I absolutely don't understand how it's possible that people are just, they say, okay, open enrollment 400, why not 1,000? Just bring in everybody or whatever. The deal is that if you have less children, it costs less. You have a given number of properties. That doesn't change. If that given number of properties pays taxes to educate 50,000 kids, yeah, they're going to pay a lot. If they're educating 10 kids, they'll be dollars. So I don't understand, if the number of children goes down, taxes go down. Why do people keep saying, oh, we're going to have tax increases and stuff? Absolutely not the case. If you take all the money that we received from open enrollment for the last 7 years, it's $4.5 million. We have $9 million. We didn't need a penny of that open enrollment money. If you go straight from a financial point of view, we don't need open enrollment at all. I can see the kids, people go, well, what's going to happen to the kids? They'll either go to their local school district, which would be best, support that, or they can go to another open enrollment district. They're not locked into this one. If they really like it here, they can move here. So there's plenty of properties available. The thing, I just can't believe, the people that I talk to, they don't, when I mention open enrollment, they tell me I must be wrong. There's no way that's true, that kids from anywhere in Ohio can come here and go to school for free to the parents. I don't understand it. That's my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Michael, should we have someone from the staff address the kindergarten question, because he brought up some points which maybe could be addressed. Research that at this point I'm not prepared for this.
I would just want to make one quick comment. We were discussing the open enrollment at the last meeting. First of all, we've been looking at open enrollment for 4 or 5 months now, and the discussion in that meeting was in excess of 14 minutes. I know we recorded after 10 minutes, but that was just because somebody comes up and says, "Look, you guys made a decision after 10 minutes, it's not making a fact." That was over 40 minutes worth of conversation, taped, verified. So, and many things. But just to let you know, it was not a from the hip 10-minute decision. Well over 40 minutes of discussion. Mr. Kutowski had a slideshow presentation in it, for example. A number of discussions about this.
That presentation was actually not part of the discussion, but on the open enrollment issue, it to me is particularly disappointing to address your comments on open enrollment. That after all of this discussion and all the input from the community, we haven't come to a resolution on open enrollment. We've had dozens of people talk. The board itself has talked about it. We have board members who ran on reviewing this, and here we are another year, and we have no conclusive decision on what's going to happen. And that's important because although our board president says we can't close one of our elementary schools, the figures that I've seen seem to say otherwise, and we're voting tonight to put a roof on one of those schools. So are we going to put a roof on a school that we don't have children for? Or, putting the question another way, are we going to spend our money on buildings or on our kids? And that's something that the open enrollment question, if we could resolve that, would in fact resolve. We know where our money had to go, how much of what we had to buy, which teachers we keep, which teachers would go, what our enrollment would ultimately be, and we would resolve this. And this would not be a community issue anymore, and I would love to see it resolved.
Deb, Stein Moreno, I've got your numbers, but we're going to address some numbers right now, please. The numbers of resident children for our elementary say 132 in second grade, 130 in third grade, 142 in fourth grade, 131 in fifth grade. These are the numbers, district presented numbers. We have class size 25 at our elementaries. So if your physical plant then has 4 rooms per grade at 25 times 4 is 100. You cannot squish 131 residential children into 4 rooms, keeping your 25. It's math. To state anything else besides that is part of the problem. Misleading information.
No, that's not. I can tell you why. The reason is because we can move grades up to the middle school where we have significant excess capacity. We also have excess capacity at the high school because we once had many, many more students in these buildings. The second thing is, if the finances worked out, if we were exploring that, you can also use modular classrooms. And it's much more efficient to have a single school because then you're using your personnel better. And of course, you're not putting a lot of money into maintaining 2 schools. So again, the question is, do you want to put your money into students or schools? And it's a very controversial thing. I can understand why the board doesn't want to approach it.
We also have policy that states that the board president will relay a unified message. So even if that was your personal opinion, that's again just 20% of a board, just your 20% idea, not 100% idea.
Exactly,
So,
it's pretty obvious, isn't it? I don't think it's ambiguous that my opinion
but
is mine.
to give those things that we're looking into closing buildings and stuff was just 20% of an idea, not 100%, not even discussed between the other four board members. Never have we ever discussed closing a building. We've discussed maybe realigning, going K235, but I've never been in front of a conversation that said we're going to close a building.
Are you referring to the editorial I wrote?
One of many, yes.
Yes, and let me read it to you, because that will, then you can see, and our audience can see whether or not they think this is expressing the board's opinion or my opinion. During the recent school board campaign, both winning candidates promised that they would reassess open enrollment, which allows a limited number of students from other school districts to attend West Geog at the expense of the state. The new board president, Mike Pupil, said the voters have spoken on open enrollment. But do they know that elimination of open enrollment would cost the district $1.4 million? Do they know that without open enrollment, the district will need to ask for higher taxes to keep the same level of instruction sooner rather than later? Do they know that without open enrollment, the district would most likely be forced to close Lindsay Elementary? That's right, without open enrollment, this year's kindergarten class would be down 41% from a decade ago. Without open enrollment, you just don't have enough resident students to keep 2 elementary schools open. Last month, the Board of Education hired an architectural firm to design a new roof for Lindsay Elementary. If, without open enrollment, Lindsay must be closed, the new roof the board wants to install would be a waste of $750,000 of taxpayers' money that could be better used for their pressing needs. Just discussing closing a school is painful, and Lindsay School is a precious part of the fabric of West Geauga. Superintendent Palmer has begun discussions with the community to plan the district's future. My colleagues on the Board of Education need to do their part and listen to the community, doing what's best for our students, and make a decision now on open enrollment before putting $750,000 into a building that they may not be able to fill. Now, to me, frankly, that does not sound like I'm speaking for the board. To me, that sounds like I'm speaking for myself. I'm urging the board to do something. If I were speaking for the board, I would not be urging the board to do something. They would have already done it. So, frankly, I think this is just a matter of you and Mike and maybe the board feel inconvenienced and embarrassed by this, but it's a discussion we need to have.
Let me just make one comment. On the day that one article was written, we heard that Lindsay School was flooded by phone calls. And the day they read the article, it was being traveled. So many people took that article and called me, called my family, called friends of mine, and said, "Why are you closing Lindsay?" So many people misread that article. And I don't know anyone.
Yeah, I don't see how,
But just saying,
board member responsible
many
for
people
that.
misread the article and were coming to me saying,
Yeah.
"I need to do that." So again, I never spoke about it, I never promoted it, I never had an idea of it.
Yeah.
I was frustrated because there was talk at that time, too, in December, that we had to make this decision right away, but I've always been taking my point about reevaluating it, get me the survey. Now, this is March 10th. Is there a survey? No. Did we have to make this decision on March 1st? Yes. Did we have this huge discussion back in the fall? Yes. So, the survey company, where is it? Where are the results? Why did we get the results before we implemented at least a preliminary decision? I want to know. The community wants to know. Why couldn't we get that? We don't have those answers. You were saying we had to make a decision right away, and I'm saying I want the community survey, but I don't want that survey in June because we're on the fence here, and at least my decision was part of the article said that open enrollment was going away. I have no desire to make open enrollment. The premise of the article was going to go away. I'm not for making it go away.
Well, frankly, it doesn't say that. It says if it goes away, these are the consequences.
Well, no, but people have to know that I'm not for it going away. I can't speak for other people. My feeling is it wouldn't go away. My feeling is I want the survey.
Yeah.
I would have loved the survey before the March 1st vote because I think it would change the vote. And I think it's such a critical vote that this survey should have been. So, but I just think that the survey is such an important part of it, that if we don't have community, polling, at least, all we know is what the election was. We don't have anything else besides, I know what the teacher's opinion was, but I really want to know what the community's opinions are. I've heard about what the students are, but I had one person write me an editorial and said that I should go by the applause in the room here. Do you want me to make a decision based on the applause in the room? No. Because I can feel that, that's what the feedback came to me as an editorial comment, and I'm like, I wouldn't make a decision based on that. I'm not sitting here listening to someone's applause and then making a decision. I'll listen to people I know, maybe writer who wants to go to WestGB. I'll listen to that. That's important. And someone telling me, their opinion, over here, and pictures of them. That's important. Because we want to make the right decision, but we do meet all that, so we don't need to make, like we said, closing school before we do that.
Jeff?
I would just ask for some clarification on the survey. After the last board meeting, I had conversation with the survey, with the researchers, and they obviously, once there was the vote on the capacity and the open enrollment dates, the urgency would step back one step on their level. But we are meeting. I emailed them today for a meeting, and I believe that is set for Wednesday. But we're going to meet to talk about the next steps, and the survey should be proceeding with, hopefully should be in process well in advance of the March 31st meeting.
Do we have results? Any results, preliminary results for this?
They have the data. The researchers have, shared snippets of it with me, but they'll be presenting the decision we had last time was that it would all come together in our conversations after the board had taken the steps on the capacity and dates. So with those decisions made, to me, the urgency of getting that information to you by mid-March wasn't necessary because there already was the vote on capacities and everything.
Well, I would maintain it's more important to have, I still maintain it should have been here before March 1st. It tied our hands. I just think if you're going to have a survey, you're polling the people, people looking at the board saying, why don't you listen to the people? And I'm saying, money talks, you can get a survey before March 1st. I think it's so important.
Through the whole thing, Dr. Phelps, we had talked about a timeline of a mid-March survey. Those are the numbers I've been talking about for a while.
But it probably would have been better to have it March 1st because we wanted to decide by March 1st. So give us all the information. In my mind, we made a conservative decision, but we were not given
Well,
information.
the survey could have remained the same. That's why it was so important at our last meeting to push open enrollment. This is the open March 1st. You're not getting the surveys in mid-March.
No,
Now, we push it. Again, that's what I was trying to say to Michael. My suggestion was opening open enrollment April 15th. If we were going to get this survey until the end of March, beginning of April. But Jeff had told me that Burgess, is that what it's called? Had preliminary data for us. It was going to give us a grouping of stuff before they did the second set of survey. And that didn't happen. So that's why, us as a board felt obligated. We have to do something here. We're not getting what we need to make the best decisions possible. So we have to do something to show the community that we're willing to hear them.
Well, I do recall, though, at the last meeting, the discussion was, do we want to wait? Because we did have the time to wait, and both you and Mike felt more comfortable making a decision now and not taking it down the road. It is a sort of stopgap decision rather than a permanent decision on the moment. So we could have waited. We didn't have to make that decision, but we did.
We were advised, really by Mr. Palmer and our administrator not to wait because it was better to have open enrollment decision made sooner as far as checking in versus pushing it off. So in fact, we were advised the opposite.
Right, but it's
Just that way.
we could have
But I also said, Mike, at that meeting, I asked for the opportunity to take the numbers back to the administrative team to evaluate, and you said you were ready to make your decision.
Yeah, okay.
And we have, in that decision, Our capacity at the freshman level, for example, that was set, makes absolutely no account for returning resident students. We cut 30, we set our capacity 16 students higher than current grade level, and did not account for the fact that there are likely many residents will be returning. So I think that's...
You were at the meeting, right? You were at the last meeting that we just had? I think all 6 of us
All of
were
us
there.
were there, yeah.
We were. So when we brought up our numbers, and you had already had a meeting with your administration, you didn't take that upon yourself and tell us, hey, maybe you guys should heighten 9th grade because we could get an influx?
Mrs. Totori, with all due respect, you gave those numbers that afternoon. And for me to be able to decipher your spreadsheets and understand it, I was not able to process it at that time. There was a reason that the policy says, and then the request was to look at the numbers. That's why I asked for it. You as a board decided not to.
Dr. Felsen took a look at the numbers and made a suggestion to change one of the grades right there and then, so we did. So it was a viable option. I don't think it was that. The scenario that he was talking about wasn't that what you're now professing at this time. Let us go to one of these children ranger and jump to the microphone, please.
Hi, I'm a student here at WestG, and
We need your name, please.
I'm Gabrielle Trout. Trout.
Where are you from?
Can't be address.
We need your address.
Address. Concord. I'm open enrolled here. I don't know if that makes me biased or not. I just want to say that WestG gives us a huge opportunity. Your taxpayer dollars, your support, your services to our school makes a huge difference. If I wasn't going here, I'd be going to Riverside. And if you've ever been there, if you've ever talked to their teachers, if you've ever even been involved with Riverside, it's not a good place to be, and it is frowned upon by our local colleges and universities. I have friends that have come here that have completely turned their lives around just because of the positivity and the community that's here in WestG. And it's ridiculous that we're even debating something like this. I don't know how long open enrollment's been available, but we're like a blue ribbon school, and I guess that's a big deal. But imagine how many advancements we've made and how much that wouldn't have been possible if we didn't have open enrolled students here. It makes up so many of the students. I don't know how many, but I know it's a lot because most of my friends are. And what I'm trying to say is the surveys that you guys are doing, it doesn't really seem to be helping. And I don't even know what your guys' stance is on it from what I've heard so far. So I would ask you to really reconsider this and just put an end to the conversations and make a decision soon. Thank you.
Hi, this will have to be in a hurry. I'm Jessica Galamas. I live in Russell. I moved here from Brush, from that district, and it took 3 years moving here. We looked at 3 different houses, and they were each very disrespectful to us. A lot of people are saying just move here. I've got 2 brothers, Jake and Jason, and you know, it's a lot of money to move out here. My parents worked their entire life for it. It's a lot of hard work. It's not just something you do. You can't just have your fingers and move here. So the fact that people are saying, why don't they just move here? It's a lot of hard work, a lot of energy, a lot of time away from home even. When I was little, I barely saw my parents. Like, it's a lot of strain on the kids too. So I want you guys to think about that too.
Hold on 1 second. Do we have any other subjects besides open enrollment I can address? Paula, ma'am? Yes, please.
Hi, I'm Michelle Allen. I live at 12965 Castle Lane in Chesterland. Briefly, open enrollment. Nobody talks about property values, and that's the real thing there, but I won't go there tonight. I have an 8th grader at the middle school, and historically, there have been reward field trips at the end of, graduation. And I was just told that will not be happening this year. So they're supposed to go to Walthamere. They used to go to Six Flags. And so this year, the kids all were looking forward to their Walthamere trip, it's a pretty nice family-oriented amusement park, which I'd rather see the kids go there than like Cedar Point. And the reason I was given was because it's not a learning or education trip. And, I've had other kids go through the middle school, and I really like the way they do things here and how they are teaching them to grow up, to be responsible adults. And this trip, while it might not be, they're not learning math, and although they do get a spending allowance because they want to eat, but kids, they really deserve it. They've earned it through their 3 years in middle school. And I'm even hearing kids go, oh, that's because our class is so bad. That's not true. They're really good kids. And I would like the board to rethink that and see if we can do something to make that happen. I know they would really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Hold on, there was a gentleman way in the back that I saw. Our turf committee here is part of our turf committee. Do we have any idea of the dollarization of this very per diem?
Just a rough cost is somewhere between $25,000 and $30,000.
Beautiful. Thanks.
Thank you. Outstanding. One last one. Do we have? Wait. I'm going to get the last three. 1, 2, and 3. Okay. Howard, go ahead. Try to get them all in.
I'm Howard Schenker, and I live in Russell. And I'm here to talk about freedom. Russell taxpayers are paying $14,786 per student to come to WestGBrd High School. What's going on here irritates me. I mean, here is what is up. All we have to do is put the issue on the ballot, not over the road, and let the taxpayers vote on these issues. I bought my house 44 years ago in Mr. Russell. I went around, I expressed my freedom of choice, and I decided to move to Russell. I like the area, I like the local schools. Local schools, that's what the buses say. Local schools. Now we have 5 people, or 6, or 7, excuse me, who have taken my freedom of choice and decided that we need to have regional schools. For 44 years, I paid my taxes. I thought the schools were great. So one day, someone told me we have to put it over because we can no longer afford to run our schools as we were. I don't believe Constitution of the United States of America, which clearly states that everyone has the freedom of choice. If you want to live here, no matter where you live, there are houses in our district for $30,000 or $40,000 and up, and everybody is welcome to move here and join. I don't think it's fair to take freedom of choice away from the taxpayers. And the simplest way to resolve it is with the issue on the next ballot. I don't think we probably talk a lot less study. And then it will be finished with job. And you want to waste your time with this, and you can spend your time, the dollars, educating the kids. Thank you.
Very short. Yeah, go ahead.
Mr. Schenker, you made that statement previously, and I shared the response to you, I believe via email or also phone call, I'm not sure which one, but I did reach out to our county prosecutor who provides legal service, and there is no authorization for the Board of Education to place an issue to the public on whether or not we have open enrollment. It is not. There is no authorization.
I checked with the state, and you are right. You don't have to have it, but you can have it.
I actually called the Board of Election and asked them, just out of curiosity, how do we do that? They said they have no idea. They said, really?
The State Board of Education.
No, our little local one.
Well, I called the State Board of
I'm
Education.
just giving you an answer to the group that would do it here, Howard, because I'm interested. They said they have no idea how to do it. You can't put a survey on the election. And how would you phrase the question? Would you like open enrollment or your taxes to go over? What do you, how do you phrase whatever you're going to do? So we gave it a shot, and I don't know what else to say. Sorry. Anybody?
Hello, my name is Chloe Green. I live in district and currently I'm in next grade. Last year I was in middle school and there's a mural being painted right outside those doors saying all is welcome to campus. And this really stuck to me through high school, well, going through high school right now. Everyone accepted, everyone, whether you live right next door to me or whether you live 20 or 40 minutes away. I'd like to know why would the board or why would certain people like to stop a program that's really advertising something that we really hold at such value in the middle school and also high school. I don't know really what to say after that, but I'd just like to know what would be the issue with having everyone accepted, everyone welcome.
I can respond to that.
That's okay. You got we, we still have open enrollment. We're part of the discussion when it's come up, kind of if we lose open enrollment. Open enrollment has a contiguous aspect and a statewide aspect to it. So, as it stands right now, we've just modified it a little bit. So we still have open enrollment. We just don't have it as broad as we used to. We are cognizant of the revenues it brings in and also the impact it has on other districts. We're cognizant of different viewpoints on open enrollment and perception. Some right, some wrong, some mathematically based, some not. But we still have open enrollment. It's only been cut down a little bit. Right?
I just want to know why some people would be at something so wonderful, great to students and teachers and everyone around us.
I don't know if there's a perfect answer for that.
Well said, Chloe.
Last one.
Hi, this is number 7417 Tannersall, Chesterland. I believe Mr. Kilroy said a little while ago that the board did not hastily vote to lower the numbers of the open enrolled students in 10 minutes of last week, right? Then when did you vote to lower them? Was it 4 months ago, 8 months ago, just to tell the public?
I said the meeting, the discussion went on for 40 minutes. It was reported that it was only 10. It was not a 10-minute discussion. The whole discussion was 40 minutes. happening.
And that was where you decided to lower the numbers of open enrolled students.
That's where we made the vote, but not in 10 minutes shooting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next question, when will you be notifying the children, open enrolled students who will not be coming back? When will you be notifying them of this?
It'll begin April 1st, right?
The process is shortly. Open enrollment will be announced to our current residents. The application period will begin April 1 at midnight, and will be an online process just as it was last year. The students will apply at the end of April. Spots will be filled. Hopefully by mid-May, determinations will be sent out to the students whether they're accepted or not.
Okay, good question. So you're going to let them know mid-May you decided to do that. So 8 or 10 weeks, if a family would want to move into the district, you give them 10 weeks to sell their home, buy new. Now, just the 4 members who voted to lower the number, do you feel that's a reasonable amount of time for them to do that?
The first thing that I would like to say is every single year somebody comes in as open enrollment, whether they've been here 6 years, 7 years, or 1 year. Every single year they have to reapply. And on that application, it first states it's not a guarantee. So whether we reduce these numbers ever or not, it's never a guarantee because we can get our own students in. So when that person signs up for open enrollment, that's a beginning spot that they should be starting to look for a home here. Truthfully.
Okay.
Because you don't know if next year you're going to have that same spot.
Well, that is true, but you feel it's that easy to sell your house, buy a new one, because it's not. On my street, there's a home for sale for 4 years, maybe.
And maybe rightfully so. And we have a board member with us that had struggled for several years to get a home here. However, every single year, we don't tell people, hey, you can stay until you find a home. That's not our obligation.
Don't you think it would have been better for the board if you're going to lower the numbers? Wouldn't it have been kinder to those families to say, you know what, we're going to lower them next year, so if you want to still be here, start looking for a house and give them a year.
Well, the numbers that were given to us could potentially raise, and then that would have been unfair to a whole other set of people.
What would that have done?
The numbers that were proposed to us would have allowed potentially for an intake of over 100 plus new open enrolled students. So now, if we wait until next year and you have potentially 100 new open enrolled students, now you added a whole other group of people to that category you're telling to wait another year to make those decisions.
I don't know who decides to multiply another 100 students. I don't know. Or I don't know who decides that.
Well, in the end, the board does, and the board could have accepted or rejected those. The board set the numbers anywhere they wanted, so the board could have in fact taken into account what you're referring to if the board chose to.
But the board chose that?
No, the board actually took one of the grades, and discussion was had during that 40 minutes where Dr. Phelps said he wanted to have a different number, and that number was actually changed right there and then, so that if anybody had wanted to actually discuss changes in any particular grade, that's not going to happen, because it did happen.
Aren't
And
there
we
some
did do it.
grade levels, maybe 5th or 6th, you're only going to allow one open enrolled student pass, and the rest so
No.
on?
Everything is potential because you don't know how many people are going to move into us. The available spots, the least amount that we would take in any grade is 6. That's the least amount. Now, that's not even 100% guaranteed because you could also lose students. Do you understand? So even though a number is at 142, and you do it to 140, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong page, doesn't mean that you're not going to lose people or gain people. We gain some kids residentially, like Mr. Palmer was saying, in 6th and 9th grade because of parochial. Those are residential students, and we get an influx of those in 6th and 9th grade. But you can also lose students. We also have declining enrollment ourselves. So there's a potential that goes both ways here. I mean, it's
You know, it doesn't really make sense to families of open enrolled students and others. I don't have students here, and my tax rate is 400 here. But I'm not complaining, saying I'm educating other people's children. That's my money. But anyway, why did you choose to lower it by like 30 kids? Just ask 30. It does look like we've got your 5740, and we've used your money, but now we can look on a wealthy, so long for your kids. That's what appears to be. No answer.
There's not a perfect answer for everybody in this room. I'm sorry, we didn't just say we're going to knock 30 kids.
Well, in essence, you did, because you did lower the numbers, and there will be 30 so kids that will be able to come back.
Right, and that is one of the problems we face with open enrollment, because when children feel like they belong in the school, when parents know they're welcome here, those children are going to feel more socially at ease. And we know that for kids, their social life is an important part of their academic achievement. No kid is going to do as well if they feel they're in a hostile environment. No kid is going to do as well if they feel next year they may not be back. What kind of friendships are they going to forge? What kind of relationships with teachers and staff are they going to forge? So the idea of bringing kids back each year, as much as we can do it within state law, is really important to our academic success. And we do have to keep that in mind, because as we go forward, if we have any form of open enrollment, that should be a very important part of it.
We've actually run out of time for this section. I'm sorry, we could go forever, I think, on some of these. And I did say I was going to take the last three, which I did. Is there any new business? Takes us to section number 7, any new business? I'm sorry, I looked in the audience.
You said you wanted to get them off.
No, I understand that, but I looked in the audience and I got down to the last three. I tried to get a representative of you guys.
You want to show me how to talk? You just want to talk.
I can talk. I've spoken before, come on back. I'm trying to be fair to new people.
Why don't you take the podium? Say what you have in your mind.
Hi, I'm Jack Boutet. I'm an open enrollment student at Supt. Over the course of the few years that I've been here at WestGBr, it's been more than simply coming into the district and getting an even slightly better education. It's been an exceptionally better education. It's improved my life just exponentially while I've been here. And I've not only just come to the school district and gone to school, done all my homework, get good grades, or try to get good grades. It's been participating in the community. I don't just come here and then go home every day. I'm here at the board meeting right now speaking because the future of not only me, but 200 some other students rests on the decisions made here by the board. So, I guess what I'm trying to say is that we should think of this whole debate as about education. We should think about it as for the children, not for the individual people in the district that pay taxes. We pay taxes too. We put money into the school. We put plenty of money into the school. We may not pay the same property taxes, but we still pay taxes all the same. It almost feels like a discrimination against people who may have just paid less in property taxes. So, I think how we should handle this is not necessarily just research and information from documents, say the Constitution or Declaration of Independence. I don't know where you're going to get your information, but base it not only off of stuff that's been recorded. Go out and talk to some of these students. Go out and talk to some of these parents and the children. Ask the teachers how they feel. Ask the faculty. Ask the board how they feel. Ask other students in district how they feel. This is more than just money or location that we're talking about. We're talking about human beings, young adults being forged in the world today. And West Geauga is a great place to put your children in and have them get a good education. I can attest to that. I can solemnly swear that West Geauga is one of the best schools in Ohio.
Now, we'll try our new business, or any new business that anybody wants to move forward. Case?
Right.
No. We're going on to the section 8 is our informative report, people personality report. Beth? Sorry for not getting to everybody. I realize we have about a half an hour. We can't necessarily get to everybody. We don't exceed it by 15 minutes. Try to fit in a few extra.
I'm pleased to be able to talk to you tonight about WestGBr's school health services. I think this is a great opportunity for us to take a look at all the nuances and factors involved in serving the health needs of our children across the district. Just a brief overview of what we'll be talking about. Is that better?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. As an overview of what we'll be talking about tonight, we'll start with a brief history of how school health services have evolved in our country. Then we'll look at the various roles of those who provide school health care, talk about different models of service delivery and the student to nurse ratio. We'll see what other districts in our area are doing to serve their children, and we'll look closely at our own health care services. In looking at how healthcare in schools has evolved, I found it very interesting to find that the first healthcare services in schools in the late 1880s or late 1800s was provided by physicians in order to find children with defects and diseases and exclude these children from attending school in order to protect the community. It wasn't until the 1950s that medical exams by school physicians began to shift to private practitioners and school-based nurses began to take over as the main school health provider. In the late 1900s, school health services began to evolve toward more coordinated efforts to provide health care as well as health education. Currently, according to the Center for Disease Control, school health services should encompass many other areas besides physical health, and those are listed there. It's health education, physical education and physical activity. Physical health services is what we are focusing on tonight. Mental health and social services, nutrition, a healthy school environment, and the staff health promotion. So as a district, and we're moving forward and looking at health care, we need to be aware of the importance of all components of school health. Talking today about physical health services, we will still need to note that we should also consider we are seeing a greatly increased need for mental health and social services in our district. Julia Graham-Lear is the director for the Center of Health and Healthcare in Schools and a professor at George Washington University. She's a lead researcher in school health issues. She has summarized how school health services are typically delivered today. School nurse staffing is sometimes augmented by aides, more formally known as unlicensed assistant personnel, or UAPs. The number of aides employed nationwide is unknown, and their training varies widely. Aides typically function under the state license of a school nurse. In some instances, several aides are supervised by a single nurse. In others, aides may be the only health personnel in the school, with a single nurse administrator responsible for numerous school-based aides. Some schools and school districts have no health personnel serving in the general school population. So who provides health care in Ohio in the schools? This information that's presented on the next several slides is taken from the Ohio Association of Nurses, and they have characterized or categorized the roles of school health providers. We have the licensed school nurse, the registered nurse, the licensed practical nurse, and the unlicensed assistive personnel, or UAP. If you think of these roles as a ladder, with the highest rung being the most skilled to work in schools, I think that's a good way to look at it. So let's look at the licensed school nurse. She's at the top, or he is at the top of the rung. The licensed school nurse holds a license from the ODE, or the Ohio Department of Education. The requirements for this licensure are that you must be a registered nurse, you must have earned a bachelor's degree, and you must have completed ODE-approved graduate coursework. The licensed school nurse is an independent practitioner who does not require direction by another health professional. She is educated in critical thinking and judgment skills to develop a plan of care appropriate and effective for the school setting. She can independently assess the health and healthcare needs of students and delegate nursing tasks to service providers who are lower on the ladder. Next is the registered nurse. Registered nurses can have various levels of education. One is a diploma-prepared nurse. This is a nurse that has 3 years of education but no degree. We could have an associate degree nurse, usually 2 years of education, or a bachelor's degree nurse, which is a 4-year college degree. The registered nurse has the same capabilities and scope of practice as the licensed school nurse. However, they do not have training specific to working in a school setting. Next. It's okay. Next is the licensed practical nurse. The licensed practical nurse is licensed through the Ohio Board of Nursing after completion of an accredited LPN program. It does not hold a college degree in nursing. The LPN is trained to perform nursing tasks, can perform CPR and first aid if trained, can administer prescription medications if trained, can delegate nursing care if directed by an RN. They are not an independent practitioner and must be directed by an RN or a physician. And unless they are directed by an RN, they cannot delegate nursing tasks, make referrals, or make decisions about disposition. Disposition is assessing when a student comes to the clinic, looking at their symptoms and deciding if we can send them back to class, send them home, or call 911. And finally, we have unlicensed assistive personnel, or UAP. There's no standard job description for these people, no training or title. That is all determined by the district they are hired into. They can include a variety of titles. There's many different job titles that are considered UAPs. The first one I'll talk about is the state-tested nurse assistant. The state-tested nurse assistant does have some training that would include medical terminology and first aid. They typically work in long-term facilities and hospitals. The other unlicensed assistive personnel basically fall into the same category. They have no mandatory healthcare training required unless mandated by the district. The first one we'll talk about is the medical assistant. The Ohio Board of Nursing does not recognize any training or credentialing of medical assistants. Most have post-high school education, such as a certificate. The content of these training programs varies widely, but generally includes practical administrative skills and hands-on medical assisting. Other UAP titles include health aide, instructional aide, paraprofessional, or just any other unlicensed person that does healthcare tasks. And again, there's no mandatory healthcare training for any of these. The unlicensed assistive personnel, or UAP, can administer prescription medications if trained. They can perform CPR and first aid if trained. They can screen for vision and hearing if trained. They can do any healthcare task if they're delegated by the nurse. The thing that they cannot do, again, is make decisions about disposition. The American Academy of Pediatrics has set forth what they believe to be, at minimum, the 3 areas that school health services should provide. They are, first, prevention. That would be your state-mandated services, which are health screenings, immunization status, and infectious disease reporting. The second is management of acute and chronic health conditions. That would be assessment of minor health complaints, medication administration, and care for students with special health care needs. And the last would be emergency care, being able to handle emergencies and other situations. There are many different factors that influence, there are many different factors that influence what models of delivery of school health services that a district chooses. The appropriateness of any one of these approaches for any one school district is typically depends on several factors. First, what are the needs of the students? Then, what is the educational preparation and the scope of practice of the personnel who are available? What funding is available in that particular district? What are the community resources for health care? And what are the scope of services available in or near the community? And finally, what are the attitudes and objectives of the community? What is their local preference? The model of school health services for anyone in any one district is determined based on these factors. What best matches the community's needs and characteristics. For example, if there are not a lot of healthcare services in the area, there may be a bigger emphasis on healthcare being provided at school. If there is an abundance of healthcare in the area, there may be less emphasis on the need for health services in school. So what are some current models of school healthcare? Many school districts are embracing the concept of school-based health centers, or SBHCs. These are clinics that are located either in or very near a school. Usually they're organized by a local hospital or a health center. They are staffed by a multidisciplinary team, nurse practitioners, registered nurses, physicians, physician assistants, dentists, social workers, and mental health care providers. You see that they can offer a very comprehensive physical and mental social health care. They are able to get health care to students early and are able to diagnose and treat physical and mental health problems while the kids are right at school. These programs are usually grant funded and they're found in urban areas. In Ohio, we have some in Columbus, Cincinnati, Butler County, Hamilton County, Brown County, and we do have one at Shaw High School in Cleveland. Another model is the coordinated school health program. These programs provide a comprehensive, integrated approach that focuses not only on physical health, but also on a child's attitudes and behaviors and on their environment. They are designed to connect physical, emotional, and social health with learning. In these models, families, communities, and schools work together to promote student health. There's 8 components of working together. You can see them listed up there. They're similar to the ones we talked about before. But you can see that if you integrate all of those together, it can have a significant impact on the lives of students and their families. Then we have the more traditional models in Ohio, and those are based on local needs and preferences. These models are supported by the Ohio Department of Health School Nursing Program. They provide technical assistance and consultation, resources, and training. In Ohio, services vary widely by district. Staffing varies and may include licensed school nurses, RNs, LPNs, and UAPs. They can range from having no school nurse to one school nurse in every building. They may include district hired staff or purchase service staff. Purchase service is when you contract with an outside agency, and this seems to be a trend of districts in our area. Depending on the model chosen, these purchase services can not only provide clinic coverage, but provide access to hospital resources, professional training, and the availability of a pool of service providers, which allows the flexibility to provide services on an as-needed basis throughout the school year. If the model partners with the hospital, it becomes a bridge between the traditional service that we have and the school-based centered health center that allows the district to have access to the hospital medical resources in order to remain current and up to date on healthcare initiatives. the school to student or the student to school nurse ratio. There are, of course, many benefits of having a school nurse. It's widely known that keeping children healthy improves learning. The National Association of School Nurses recommends a gold standard needs-based formula approach for determining your school district's full-time school nurse to student ratio. And in this example, you'll see that in the red highlighted is for well students, one school nurse for every 750 students. Then you'll see as the ratios get smaller, the individual needs of the students get more intense. Okay, now let's look at a comparison of state ratios across the nation. These are the requirements of the states. If you look at the top, there are 30 states that have no required ratio. There are 2 states that have 1 RN per school, 2 states that have 1 RN per district or region. And then the smaller ratios, 1 to 500 or 1 to 750, there's 7 states, but they are not actual mandated requirements. They are stated as we recommend this, or as funding becomes available, or we encourage it or promote it. So you can see that across the country, those are the requirements of the states. Now, another statistic I found that I think is interesting is that the state average student to nurse ratio ranges from 1 to 275 students, that's Vermont, to 1 for every 4,893 students, and that's Utah. Hawaii has no school nurses in their schools. Ohio's is 1 to every 2,377 students. Now let's take a look at how other districts in our area provide their health services. We surveyed our area districts and compiled the data into this chart. If you look at the top row, you'll see the district, then the number of students, number of buildings, the number of nurses, RNs, LPNs, and then the number of UAPs. Then the last 2 columns show who covers the clinic when there is no health personnel there. So for example, if you look at Chagrin Falls, we say that they have 2,400 students, 4 buildings, 1 full-time nurse, 2 full-time UAPs. One is a medical assistant and one is a health assistant. And yes, the office staff does cover the clinic when they're not there, and the secretary does it. If you look at Kenston, they have 3,300 students, 4 buildings, 3 part-time RNs, 2 part-time LPNs. And when there's no one in the clinic to cover, the administration does it, not the school secretary. So if you look through those 2 charts, there's one on the next page. You can see that it really varies very widely. Westlake has 4,000 students, 7 buildings, and 2 nurses. They have a building aide in each building that is a special ed aide that comes up to help in the clinic when needed. One thing I was impressed with was Reynoldsburg. If you look at Reynoldsburg, they have 6,200 students, 12 buildings with only 2 nurses, 1 full-time aide and 3 part-time aides. And I thought, how can that be? So I asked them, how can you possibly do this? And they said, well, they work really, really hard, and they all work very well together. They have a great team, and they work together to get things done. And I just thought, wow, what a great attitude. So in summarizing all of our area district health services, you will see that if we go back to West Geauga, the list of the first one, West Geauga, Twinsburg, and Orange were the only districts that had full-time health care coverage in each building. So let's take a look at our district's healthcare staff. Currently, we have 1 full-time licensed school nurse who is a district employee. She works 184 days, 7.5 hours per day. According to the job description, now I pulled out the medical and clinical aspects of the job description. There's more in there that's collaborative and things like that. But the job is to inform personnel and or parents in regard to contagion in the school, to be responsible for and or direct screening programs in compliance with state laws and district directives, to be responsible for and direct and maintain individual health records, to be responsible for in-service and coordination of clerical health aides, for such items as medication disbursement, record keeping, health screening, and catheterization procedures and assistance. To be responsible for the thorough completion of all school accident reports, and to install and maintain first aid supplies in the school. Now, I wanted to point out that this job description was written in 1993, and it is actually the statement that be responsible for the thorough completion of all school accident reports is in direct conflict with the board policy that states that accident reports are to be completed by the staff member involved. We also have 2 part-time licensed practical nurses. They are purchase service employees. They work 184 days, 5.5 hours per day. They alternate days, and they are student-specific. In looking at clerical health aides, we have 1 purchase service employee with medical assistant training. She works 184 days, 6.5 hours per day, which is the amount of times children are in the building. She has student-specific duties and general district duties, and we also supply occasionally additional supplemental hours. We also have 4 full-time district employees, 1 per building. They work 213 days per year, 7.5 hours per day. And also, I believe that the health assistant at the middle school is EMS trained. Is that correct? Yeah. Okay. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Jeff, but students are here 178 days. Okay. So, let's look at the clerical health aides job description. Their number 1 essential job function is to assist the school nurse. To assist the school nurse in administering medication to students, attending to first aid needs in the clinic and in the absence of the school nurse, in accordance with school policy. Example of these duties may include dispensing medication when the nurse is not on site, in the absence of the nurse, providing care for students with chronic illness and acute injuries, provide care for special education students, provide care for students on the playground, in the classrooms, and in the clinic. To serve as backup for the clinic nurse when the clinic is busy, and to clean the clinic when necessary, inventory and restock clinic supplies. More job descriptions are to make decisions independently by performing basic analysis, anticipating problems, and drawing conclusions. And an example of that for them would include, in the nurse's absence, determine when children should be sent home because of illness and contact parents, determine when to call 911. Now, if you remember, at the beginning, I said that the Ohio Board of Nursing says that is not an allowable duty for them. So this is a 2005 job description. So that is something else we need to take a look at. When we look at the history of healthcare services provided in the district, we will see that the clerical health positions were created as healthcare was needed. As a part of this study, I went back to available records to get a sense of staffing history. Please note that this compilation is based on clinic staff only, not on LPNs that are student-specific. If you look across the top, I just wanted to explain quickly. S1 is the secretary 1, so that's the principal's assistant. S2 and 3 at the high school, there's 3 of them, and they have a variety of duties: receptionist, guidance, secretary, attendance, and health aid. So one of them is designated as the health aid. This can get pretty boring, so I'll just kind of quickly, when we began in 89-90, we had 2 full-time school nurses. One was covering 2 secondary buildings, they split the middle school, high school, and one covering the 2 elementary buildings. At the high school, we had at least 1 full-time clerical health aide, and at the middle school, we had a clerical health aide working 5.5 hours per day. And there were no clerical health aides at the elementaries. In 1991, we added 2 half-time clerical health aides, 1 each elementary. 93-94, we increased clerical health aide coverage by making the middle school clerical health aide full-time and increasing both the number of hours and the days at the elementary building. 94-95, we had to RIF 1 school nurse, but we were able to increase the clerical health aide hours at the elementaries. 95-96, in the elementaries, the clerical health aides were increased to 7.5 hours per day. By 99-2000, we were back to 2 school nurses. 2000-2001, the hours at Westwood for the clerical health aide were reduced for some reason, I don't know why. 0203, the hours at Westwood were returned, and the number of days increased from 200 to 213 in both elementaries. In 2010-11, the administrative team determined that more nurse time was needed at the elementary than the secondary buildings. So the two nurses each took a secondary building and an elementary building, and then spent much more time at the elementaries than at the middle school, high school. In 11-12, a nurse was again ripped but hired back half-time for student-specific need. In 12-13, the half-time nurse position was eliminated and the purchase service UAP was added to address student-specific need and some general district need. So if you look at the office staff, currently we have one secretary at the middle school, high school that works 260 days a year. We have a secretary 2 at the middle school who works 213 days, and a secretary 2-3 at the high school, or 2 of them that work 213 and 229 days. At the elementary school, we have a secretary 1 that works 229 days. We have clerical help aides that work 213 days, and a medical assistant that works 184 days. But again, there are students in the school 178 days. So here's the cost of our model estimated, about $230,000. And I took the clerical health aides costs and I reduced it by 70% to account for the amount of time that they spend doing clerical chores. So let's talk about some issues that we face with this model that I can see. One is the fluctuation in student population. We always have year-by-year attrition. We have the graduating class moving out and taking all their medical issues with them. And then we have kindergartners moving in and bringing all their medical issues with them. We have just general residents moving in or moving out, taking those issues with them. We also have medical conditions that can arise during the year or get resolved during the year. So all of this happens after we've had to make our staffing determination. So that's something that's a little difficult. Another thing that's difficult is that it's very inconsistent availability of substitutes to help out when both of either the medical assistant or the nurse is going to be out of the district. We have nursing services that we've contracted with. We have a county program that provides subs. The problem is, as the year goes on, the subs want to get a full-time job. And so they find a full-time job and then the pool gets smaller and smaller. And the availability of particular days having them gets smaller and smaller. I also see an issue with comfort of delegation of tasks. And then staffing for unusual circumstances like field trips, overnight trips, extracurricular activities. There's a lot of work that has to go around those things to get medications and if there's a student-specific child that needs to have someone with them on the field trip. So looking at service delivery options, at this point, there's a continuum of options we can look at. The first one is to maintain and improve the current model. We can look at the job descriptions and the delegation of tasks. Are the responsibilities of the school health personnel clearly defined and applied? Or we could look at the levels of licensure and certification of our current healthcare providers and look at other things like accessibility. If there's a child that needs something after school, maybe adjust hours so they can be covered, or increasing and reducing staff depending on their role. We could keep district staffing at its current level and supplement it with outsourced healthcare partnerships. We could adjust district staffing and supplement with outsourced healthcare services. Or we could outsource all healthcare services. Currently, well, there's 2 examples for outsourced partners. One is PSI, Partners for Success and Innovation. They have very comprehensive healthcare services. And currently, Chagrin Falls, Solon, Twinsburg, Willoughby Eastlake, Wickliffe, Parma, Strongsville, South Euclid, and Riverside use them for their health services. We also have a possibility of Akron Children's Hospital School Health Services. This is where you would be directly connected to all of the services of a hospital. And they currently serve Worcester, Kent, Rootstown, 10 districts in Summit County, Green Portage, and Wayne, and then Mahoney County. So, has been a report on the current status of our healthcare services. If the board would like to move forward, I would recommend that we look at each of these options in greater detail, assess the pluses and minuses of each, and meet with the personnel committee to make a recommendation.
Can I ask my questions?
Go ahead.
You know, I have a couple issues with this. So your pupil personnel, you're in charge of running all of those areas, correct? That you just stated with plus in addition to IEPs and things like that, correct? Okay, your job, right? Okay, so I guess I'm asking is, these UAPs, several of them have been trained to administer medicine, they've been trained first aid CPR. Do you feel comfortable that in the job that you hold, you would be able to train somebody in 4 to 6 hours to do what you do?
What are you asking?
Well, I'm asking because I think that these UAPs, that you have these clerical help aides, these secretaries, if you will, that do clerical stuff on a daily basis, are they truly qualified to administer medicine to kids that have diseases, that kids that have high allergies, right? Can they be trained in 4 to 6 hours? Is that a safe assessment?
I don't know where you're talking about 4 to 6 hours.
Well, how long does it take? What is the training?
I assume the training would be ongoing throughout the school year and throughout the years that they've been here.
So, I've been told that in order for a clerical help aide to be able to administer medicine, they have to go through a specific training, correct?
Yes.
And how long is that training?
I'm not sure. There's a module, and then there's a training that's sometimes it's a day long, sometimes it's half a day, depends on how fast the business.
Let's say it was a full day, 7 hours, 7.5 hours. Is that enough time to train somebody a job that clearly a nurse has gone to school for 4 years to be able to get?
I would say the state of Ohio believes it is.
But do you?
I don't think that's relevant here.
Okay. Also, since you went as far back as 1989 on this, do you think that the state of Ohio has added, I don't know, dozens, even maybe 100 different mandates than there were in 1989?
I have no idea how to know how many mandates they've added.
But do you think that they have added some since 1989?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So do you think that the current nurses have to do more reporting than they probably had to do in 89?
Undoubtedly.
Yeah. So in addition to what is happening with kids these days, the allergies, and we all know that 20 years ago, peanut allergies weren't as high up as they are now, there is a significant difference from 20 or 30 years ago.
Healthcare needs have definitely increased.
They definitely. So knowing that, do you really feel that what WestG has, even though you're saying that, by the way, I just wanted to correct you, you said that there were only 3 other schools with full-time nurses. I saw a lot more than that. Chardon, Twins.
One nurse in each building, one that I said that their buildings were covered full-time.
Okay. Well, there was several schools that have full-time nurses in Orange. Like you said, they have one in every single building. I mean, I always think that WestG strives to be better than everybody else, but at any rate. I got more questions.
Hold on, I think at some point though, what Mrs. Ivory said was to take a look at the various different areas here, and maybe this is something that personnel work is going to, that would be a good place to start to send some questions through Tom to do it, to process, go forward. And I think to be